Today is Friday, the 13th of March, and we are coming to you from the sacred lands of
the Chochenyo, Karkin, Ohlone
people. So here we are. It's a very odd day. It's we're getting notices by the minute of things that are closing and canceling. And you may have heard that the schools have been closed for West Contra Costa Unified School District. And what's happened is they've put the vacation, the spring vacation, and moved it up a week. And then we're out 2 weeks. So that will be a total of 3 weeks that the students will be out. And we will return on April the 6th. Monday, April the 6th. So that's the plan, along with everything else. It's kind of day by day, and we are just, trying to, everybody wash your hands and stay safe and avoiding large places, although so many things have been canceled. And so this is a nationwide thing that's going on, and so we'll give you some updates nationally.
Well, we can start internationally. I'm Madeline Cronenberg.
Oh, sorry. and I'm Consuelo Lara. See, it's got me all off.
It's discombobulating, is what it is. So this is at the height of the world of COVID-19, the coronavirus, and it has really just reached its peak in terms of affecting us here in California. Although it had its start in Wuhan, China, and there's been this whole progression of it through Europe, where you've got whole countries that have been closed. So Wuhan, China was closed and is only now starting to come back. And the scary part of that is that started in December and this is March. So this is not, it's a longer period of time than some of us are contemplating.
I didn't notice it.
But there is, testing, all these issues around testing and the fear that there's going to be exposure. So I'm not sure where we'll be a week from now, but right now West Contra Costa is closed. Certain states have closed completely. Washington State, where they've had one of the first large outbreaks, has taken a state approach to education and to all of their different political segments, their cities and counties. There are other states have done the same thing in terms of closing all of their schools. California hasn't done that yet, but it's sort of working its way through little by little. So San Francisco is closed, Oakland is closed, LA Unified is closed. But some places, the last time I looked, and it could change at any moment because people are making the decisions on a moment-by-moment basis. But this morning, the one I looked at was Hayward, because if I were still working, I'd be going to Hayward, and Hayward was open. But that's when Oakland was still open, so I think that maybe Alameda County has made a change now. And I haven't heard anything about Mount Diablo or the other districts in Contra Costa. So people have done it differently. And one of the reasons that Contra Costa, West Contra Costa, has maybe an easier set of circumstances around the decision is that what's happening when school districts close is they can go to online learning. And a few years ago, in the bond measure before Measure R, our school district voted in to pay for one-to-one technology for all the children in the district. Everybody has a tablet. We did a rollout, took several years to do. Our teachers had to get trained on it, but all of our students have a tablet or a laptop, which makes it possible for them to be able to go online. At the same time, there were programs that were done that we did in coordination with the state and with the city of Richmond, so that families that had that were low-income families and wouldn't ordinarily be able to access the internet at home would have it made available to them. And there was a whole big effort to address the digital divide. And this is where it's paying off.
And you were on the school board when that happened.
I was on.
And you were pushing that effort.
I was on the bond committee, and I remember when we were bringing that bond measure forward, one of the things that we wanted to do is make sure that there was something, just like in the last bond in Measure R, it was important to have something that everyone could get behind, and that was the air conditioning for Measure R and environmental climate change issues. So it's not just that you were only looking at one building here and one building there, but you could see that it was for the whole community. That bond measure, the digital divide was the number one thing. We were talking about different schools, we were talking about Pinole Valley, we were talking about different schools. But the bigger thing for everyone was to close the digital divide and to pay for the one-to-one technology.
And there was a lot of pushback on that.
Yes.
Is that correct?
There's always been pushback,
Always
just like
been
Measure
pushback.
R.
Always been naysayers, and so it was a fight. It was
Yeah.
not an easy thing
Yeah.
for you to and others on the board to accomplish.
That's right.
So it's paying off now. People forget
We
that
had a technology
struggle.
committee. We were one of the few
Yes.
school districts. We not only had a facilities committee, but because we were able to do that, we started a technology committee. And Mr. Groves and I were on it. And then Trustee Phillips and I were on the technology committee. And that committee was formed because all of our children had access to technology. We worked together with Sonny McPeak and a statewide organization to be able to make sure that the low-income families, our low-income families, not only had the opportunity to have it, but had training, and where the families were able to come in and be trained on the technology that was going to come into their home. So this is one of the reasons I think it was easier for this district now in this time of crisis to say, okay, we can move because we don't have to think of the families who don't have access.
Exactly.
Because we all have it.
And I do remember being in the classroom at that time and all of that happening, and then like, oh, we've got these opportunities for these kids, and not knowing at all, where it came from or why. So on behalf of the children and everybody, I want to thank you for not giving up that fight.
No, we didn't give up. See, this
Yeah.
is the technology teacher in me.
I know. This is my background.
Actually,
So-
it was my idea. They weren't going to do it. And
Yeah.
I said, but wait.
Yeah.
Wait, we need,
So-
because I knew, the thing I knew about that made me push for it was I taught in adult ed in Hayward.
Yep.
And I knew what a struggle it was for my students and their families at home, and how their children didn't have the access that my children had because I had technology in my home and my students were only had it at school.
Yep.
So that was really, they were always my inspiration.
That's a big.
And that's one of the reasons that we're now able, so the way this apparently works is that during the 2 weeks, they're going to be off for 3 weeks.
Right.
The first 2 weeks, every day, the students are going to have an opportunity to work online with their teachers.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so this is the beginning of a new style of teaching. I mean, honestly, I'll just say this right now. I don't think anybody knows that it's only going to be 2 weeks or 3 weeks,
We don't know.
right?
We
There
don't-
is no way to
no,
tell.
we
Because
don't.
right now, in terms of how this pandemic is going to play out, I mean, a week ago we had no idea. And here we are today with the schools being closed.
But the
We
good
don't
thing
know.
with this e-learning is there's no loss now of ADA
Yeah.
because they are learning. There's no loss of students can get their credits. I just think of kids in their junior year getting ready for, apply to college. This is such an important year for them. And so it's important that we stay on, on track for everybody getting what they need. And the creativity that teachers are going to have to come up with teaching dance online.
Well, yes, I'll report that out because
That'll be
my
great.
daughter is the dance instructor at El Cerrito High School, and she has to move her dance class online.
That's awesome.
Now, I shared with her that there are many dancers who have their own YouTube channels like we do, but she's not going to make a YouTube channel. She told me that is not what she's going to do. But she has her plan. She's going to do it through Google Classroom. I believe that's, and there were a number of choices that the teachers were given. There are various strategies they can use, and Google Classroom is one of them that the district supports. It will be a fascinating thing to see how it plays itself out. And everyone's going to learn. Some teachers are going to some people are very comfortable being online and
The
and
younger
working
teachers.
with this already.
Very.
Yeah, other
I think
teachers
so.
not as much.
Yeah.
And so
Bigger learning curve.
it's a big, big learning curve. And it's not just here, it's across America,
Yeah.
right? It's everybody who's having meetings, right? So they're, as we know, I'll just say this for people in the future who come back and watch this video for some reason. This is a really unusual time in America for people to suddenly all have to move online. And it's just happening everywhere, and the people that are of great concern are folks who can't do that, and all of the businesses that aren't able to do that. So the restaurants and stores that are looking,
Yeah. Yeah.
they're afraid they're going to go out of business.
And our students, I'm concerned about, and I brought it up about some students who only eat when they come to school. So there is going to be a structure where people can drive by, grab, what they need for their student, and then so that it still will be available. They're working on all those details. So many, ways to figure that out.
That is a big, giant issue, the feeding programs, right?
Yeah.
And so how that's going to work is, and we're going to learn from it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? We're going to learn from it. It's a gigantic shift for the whole
Yeah.
country. It just really
And
is.
I want to shout out to Mr. Duffy and his cabinet and all of the, the union,
Yeah.
the employee representation, everybody stepped up, and meetings and getting all of this in place, because I know that group, the student, the child, is the center of their concern.
Right.
And everything they do and set up is for the children and their families, the students. So they, nobody can say, well, you guys didn't do anything. All right, no, a lot is being done. Things are being taken into consideration. Everybody is trying to figure this out, and some things you're going to have to figure it out as you go, because
Right.
there's going to be surprises, things we didn't figure
Right now,
out.
we don't know, because this whole testing issue nationally has been a tremendous, let's say, it's been a tremendous disappointment, right? That our CDC didn't really understand how to plan for this. So right now, we're at the stage in this crisis where we still don't know how many people have it.
Yep. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
and that's all being worked out, and we'll see how
Yeah.
it plays out, and that's what's going to determine how long everything's going to take.
And my paranoia goes to, okay, big pharma, how are they? Oh, well, this is part of, what was that term?
Disaster capitalism.
Disaster capitalism. Those vultures who swoop down when people are the most vulnerable, and for profit. And so I worry about that. And I'm encouraged when I hear something like, well, Stanford, they created a testing kit, or from here and there. So, we don't have to wait. There's people who are out there who are doing these tests and creating them.
They
So
are working on it.
people-
And I will say that there was a representative named Katie Porter. Did you see her yesterday? Or she was, all right, so she had the head of the CDC in a hearing. And she did the most interesting thing of all. She's a hero, and I'll put a link to this. In this episode, we're not going to have lots of things to link to, but I'll put some in, and particularly Ms. Porter. Ms. Porter pointed out, or knew the numbers, how much it costs to get tested, how much it costs to go to the ER, how much the entire process of just finding out whether or not you have, if you test positive, will cost you. And the head of the CDC did not know that number. And she knew that there was a federal regulation that says that the federal government needs to take responsibility for paying for everybody, not
Yes.
just everybody. And basically, when she had him in the hearing, she continually asked him and said, "Does this mean that you're going to pay for everybody?" "Well, I'm going to have to check. I'm going to have to look into it." And she said, "Well, I sent you a letter with all the details last week, and you never responded to me." So you've had time to check into it, should you want to check into it, and you obviously haven't. And she got him to say out loud that yes, that the federal government would pay for everybody's testing and for any, if they had to be admitted to the ER. That was a gigantic thing, because what she did was lay the precedent for her. Nobody can say that you're not covered. And she said this means everybody, because anybody, no matter whether you're documented or not documented, that whole set of issues gets put aside, because that has nothing to do with, the virus doesn't care. Virus doesn't care. And so she is one of the big heroes in this at this moment.
Wow, that is good
Katie
to know.
Porter.
Wow.
Katie Porter.
She rules.
She gets the shout out. She gets the shout out.
for
And she
sure.
brought her whiteboard to say, let's add it up. Because she said, you don't know she said, do you know how much this costs? Oh, well, no, I don't know.
Wow.
Oh, well, I know. I'll put the number down for you and I'll add up the number. And it came out to like $1,330 or something like that. She said, and that's how much it is each time. This is not just this easy thing that everybody has $1,300 when so many people are a paycheck away from being bankrupt.
So the disaster capitalists, they're going to rise, but so will the heroes. We're going to have
So will the disaster heroes.
the disaster heroes.
Right?
You
She's
bet.
a crisis
You
hero.
bet. Crisis hero.
Yep,
for
yep,
sure.
yep. Katie Porter.
Well, I can't think of anything else we want to mention.
No, we don't know what'll happen this week. We'll have to get back and we'll see where we are a week from now and check in and see how the teachers are doing with their online experiences and our kids are doing with their online experiences.
Yes, absolutely. And there's other little things that we'll catch up on, the charter school situation, all of that. I've been visiting, so I want to share some of those, but I'll do that.
We don't know if they closed.
I'm pretty sure I saw something that said
But
that they
speaking of a
showed.
charter school closing, we do know of one that did close.
Oh yes, John Henry we voted not to renew the petition last December for John Henry High School. A lot of problems there, academic and otherwise. So they went to the county for a vote, and they voted for no action.
Right, which means that the vote from the district board stands.
Exactly. It would have been nice if all 5 of them would have done that. It would show a lot of courage and a lot of, just understanding of what was going on there. But it was 3-1-1, I believe.
Yeah.
So, but nevertheless, it's just not one that should be going on. It's not a healthy educational situation there.
Did you get a chance to watch it?
No, I didn't. Did you?
I
watch
did.
it?
I
Oh,
watched
so
the whole thing.
Tell them where they can watch it.
Well, I will put the link on.
Oh,
so
yes,
there's no
there
problem. You
it
can
was.
watch it. And I want to say this to those families. I mean, just like any other school, they are a family. And they are very, very, very distraught and sad to lose their family. And there is no question, the students and the young teachers at that school are not the ones responsible for the problems that are causing it to close. It's other people, but those other people are responsible for that. And what they did rose to the level of having to close that school. And I understand what I hope for those families, because many of the people who testified were unwilling to really think about giving the district high schools a chance. And there's no question, it is difficult in your junior year, or they're the ones, the juniors were struggling the most with having to switch schools and leave the teachers that they have such deep connections with behind. And I know you may have had, the reason you go there may be that you've had a bad experience in our district schools, but I hope you give our schools a chance, because they did say a lot of really unflattering things about Kennedy and Richmond High. Right?
I also heard, one of them said that, we're told we have to go to the continuation school,
They were actually told that. I think, and the reason for that was where there are openings. Right? So what's going to happen is, if all of these children come back into our programs, we'll have openings to hire their teachers, actually, right? Because this is 300 students.
Yeah. And there's also other charter high schools.
Well, they were you know, it's going to be difficult to all of a sudden have them return. That's the same thing. Just like we have a problem when all of a sudden a big group leave when a school opens, there's a problem the other way as well. And I wish that wasn't true, but it is true. It's just the business of slotting people into openings.
Yeah.
And that's,
Yeah.
you know, and so that the families who were there did come up and speak to the fact that they understood that this could possibly be the problem, so they were looking for their alternatives, and they don't have a lot of alternatives
Okay.
that they're satisfied with.
Okay.
Right. So there's that, and you have to always consider that when you're making the decision. But at the same time, there were very compelling reasons why it needed to be closed, and the 3-1 vote now. Their struggle is whether or not it would be able to get to the state, to be voted on at the state in time, and there are timeline issues around that make that difficult.
Exactly.
But that was the other big news this week.
Yeah, that happened just recently. So I guess that is it. And the Measure R, of course, as more votes came in, the
Our
more
percentages go up.
it
So now we're
went
at 50, not just at 55.4%, we're over 57%.
Isn't that awesome?
Mhm.
And we thank you. It shows a lot of commitment and investing in our children, and it's wonderful.
It is, and it just shows that as we go into the future, we can build buildings that match the times, right? And who knows what, distance learning is going to,
Oh yeah.
there are many opportunities. We have the opportunity to do that now,
Yeah.
right? In
We
terms
do.
of what direction we go forward with spending that money for all of the children.
Because the world is different than it was 5 years ago, and it
2
will.
weeks ago.
It will be different in next year also.
Yeah.
My only call to action is don't take your eye off the elections. We still need to
Right.
get a president that is better than the one we have, and so keep your eyes on the elections. Don't let this distract you from working towards, a better situation in our federal government. So
I'll give you a call to action. Like, share, and subscribe to this channel. You have time to do something now. You get time to push the subscribe button and the like button. And now, the question is, do we have a joke or disembodied voice?
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do.
okay.
All right. In relation to the absurd amount of toilet paper purchasing, I have a toilet paper joke. So,
Okay.
why did the toilet paper go down the mountain?
Why did the toilet paper go down the mountain? I don't know why.
To reach to the bottom.
And on that note,
Thank you. We'll see you next
Bye.
time. Bye-bye. To reach the bottom. Oh my God. The kids would love
we
that.
have good
This is
kid
good.
jokes.
Kid jokes. They go, oh.